Hello students, I hope you're okay. And today's lesson is going to be about past progressive. La lección del día de hoy va a ser sobre el pasado progresivo y cómo usarlo. Now, what is past progressive tense? It's a verb tense that is used to describe an ongoing activity in the past. ¿Qué es el pasado progresivo? El pasado progresivo es un tiempo verbal que se usa para describir una actividad en transcurso en un tiempo pasado. For example, I was talking. Yo estaba hablando. Estamos hablando de una acción que se hizo en el pasado y estaba transcurriendo en un periodo de tiempo. Yo estaba hablando. For example, I was talking about past progressive. Yo estaba hablando sobre el pasado progresivo. The structure of positive sentences in past progressive is conformed by three elements. The first one is the subject, the second one is the verb to be in past, and the third one is the verb. The first one, the subject. The subject is the person that is doing the action. It could be I, you, he, she, it, they, we. La estructura de las oraciones positivas en el pasado progresivo están conformadas por tres elementos que son el sujeto, el verbo to be en pasado y el verbo. El sujeto sería tú, yo, él, ella, eso, nosotros. In this sentence, I was talking, the subject is I. The second part of the structure of the positive sentences is conformed by verb to be in past. Remember that for each pronoun there is a specific verb to be in past. For example, he, she, it, I corresponds to verb was. You, they, we corresponds to verb were. In this sentence, I was is the verb to be of the sentence. Y en la segunda parte de la estructura de las oraciones positivas está el verbo to be. Recuerden que para cada pronombre hay un verbo to be en pasado, en este caso, en específico para cada uno. Por ejemplo, él, ella, eso, yo, le corresponde el verbo was. Y al pronombre tú, ellos, nosotros, le corresponde el verbo were. Ya dependerá de cuál es el sujeto de la oración, qué verbo se usará en la oración. And finally, the last part of the structure of positive sentences of the past progressive is conformed by the verb, but in this case we also need to add a suffix at the end of the verb. In this case is ing. So the verb of this sentence of the example is I was talking. The verb is talk, but we have to add the suffix ing, talking. El último paso para hacer una oración positiva en pasado progresivo sería añadir el verbo. Pero al verbo le añadiríamos el sufijo ing. Por ejemplo, en este ejemplo es I was talking. Talking is the verb, es el verbo. Talk is the verb plus ing. Talking, hablando.
Now we're going to talk about the negative form of the past progressive. For this case, the example is I was not talking. Yo no estaba hablando. First, we start with the subject, that in this case is I, yo. But you can also use you, he, she, it, they, or we. Then we continue with the verb to be in past, el verbo to be en pasado. In this case, since our subject is I, we use was. If our subject is he, she, or it, we use was. If our subject is you, they, or we use were. Then we continue with the complement not. El complemento no. Then we continue with the verb in ing, el verbo en ando, endo, con terminación ando, endo. Then in this case is talking, hablando.
Okay, so now I'm gonna talk about the structure of a question in past progressive. La estructura de una pregunta en pasado progresivo. Primero lo que vamos a poner es el was o el were. it's gonna depend on the pronoun we're gonna use. For example, if we're gonna put I, he, she, or it, eso es yo o él o ello, que son la primera y la tercera persona, entonces vamos a poner el was. En cambio con where va a ser con you, we y they, que viene siendo la segunda persona y también las personas en plural. Next we have the subject. In this case it's gonna be you, where you, and next we're gonna use the verb, and we're gonna add ing, or it's gonna depend on some verbs. Some verbs use ing and some others don't. And finally we have the complement, and that makes the whole question. Were you reading a book? ¿Estabas leyendo un libro? And the past progressive questions can also be negative or can also be a WH question. The WH question are the ones like where, why, which, who, quién, cómo, cuándo, dónde. So here we have some examples. Weren't you working? That's a negative question. We put the not in front of the first word. In this case is were not you working, but we're actually, in English they don't use the like were not you working. It's more weren't you working. It's shortened. Ok, está acortado. La mayoría de las veces, si no es que siempre, va a ser así. And next we have where was he going and why were we studying. Those are WH questions. ¿A dónde iba él? ¿A dónde iba? O ¿por qué estábamos estudiando?
The past progressive tense indicates continuing action, something that was happening, going on, at some point in the past. This tense is formed by the helping to be verb in the past tense plus the present participle of the verb. It means with an ing ending. For example, I was riding my bike all day yesterday. And Joel was being a terrible role model for his younger brother. In the color pink, we can see the to be verb that is helping the other verb, which is the present participle that we can see as an ing form. The ing form means that something was happening continuously. The past progressive indicates a limited duration of time and is a convenient way to indicate that something took place in the simple past while something else was happening. For example, Carlos lost his watch while he was running. Try to identify the past progressive in this sentence. In this case, was is the verb to be and running is the present participle. We can identify present participle because we can see the ing in the end of the verb. En esta oración podemos encontrar el verbo to be con la forma de was y el presente participio como running, que es una forma continua del verbo. Significa que estuvo sucediendo por un tiempo. Para repasar las imágenes anteriores, me parece importante recalcar que el pasado progresivo indica una limitada duración del tiempo de lo que estuvo sucediendo. Y es muy fácil identificarlo porque tiene sus dos verbos, el to be y el continuo, que es el que termina con ing. Por ejemplo, running, corriendo. Es como el equivalente al ando yendo, comiendo, corriendo, eating, running. Podemos ver el ing al final del verbo.
So, when do we use the past progressive? The past progressive is used when we talk about something which is happening at a special time in the past. Now, in the screen we can see some examples of some different situations in which we use the past progressive. For example, number 1. Actions were in progress at the special time in the past. And the example is, Peter was reading a book yesterday evening. Then number 2. 2 actions were happening at the same time. Anne was writing a letter while Steve was reading the New York Times. Then we have number 3. Together with the simple past. And the example is, while we were sitting at the breakfast table, the phone rang. And then number 4. Repeated actions irritating the speaker. Andrew was always coming late. So now for the knowledge activation activity, these students are going to write 3 sentences about something they were doing on the previous day afternoon. We already are going to put the link on the presentation for you to have an easy access, and we expect to see your answers in the Nearpod.